We embarked on a port-hopping cruise down the Swahili Coast of East Africa. First stop, Mombasa in Kenya. It's on an island, and its port has been a major player in Indian Ocean trade for many centuries. In 1498, Vasco da Gama showed up from Portugal, and subsequently, Europeans were added to the mix of traders already plying these waters. There's always been a market for ivory, but demand skyrocketed when the new European traders arrived, and they wanted slaves as well. You could get both in Mombasa.
Woo! Whoa!
Disembarking at the dock, we were greeted by a welcoming committee of indigenous people. They're Swahilis, a Bantu-speaking group that inhabit the coast from Kenya south to Mozambique. Out on the street, we hopped a snazzy tuk-tuk driven by an NBA fan.
You know why it's called tuk-tuk? Why? Because if you just keep the starter, it goes like...
It was a colorful drive headed across town towards the main market. Some people here don't appreciate having their picture taken. The market. Butchers. The camel was sold out. Fish. This guy obviously had the right connections. Mombasa Island is separated from the mainland by Tudor Creek. Every morning, commuters take the ferry over from the south coast. There's bridges now to the north and west. In Mombasa, you've got to visit the Old Town and Fort Jesus. On the way there, you'll see the famous elephant tusks erected in 1952 for Queen Elizabeth's visit. Old Town has narrow streets. Interesting old buildings. These balconies are of Swahili and Arab origin. These carved wooden doors are on the old homes of slave traders. There's some nice shops. You can get your hair done. Spices.
Kenya saffron. Very nice, pure one.
Gullible tourist false saffron. Fort Jesus. Built by the Portuguese in 1590, it's considered a prime example of 16th century military fortification. Nevertheless, it's changed hands 9 times between Portuguese, Swahilis, Omanis, and the British. The day of our visit, I was left to hold down the fort. Here we are in Zanzibar, an island nation just 15 miles from the mainland of Africa. It has a natural deep-water harbor protected from the wind and waves coming in from the Indian Ocean. Its location is blessed with seasonal monsoon winds, which have filled sails and driven Indian Ocean trade for millennia. These boats, called dhows, are the traditional workhorses of the coastal trade. The port isn't as important as it once was, but it's still a vital hub of Indian Ocean commerce. Zanzibar is sometimes called the Spice Island. In the past, they exported cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, and black pepper, as well as tortoiseshell, copal, and coral. So we signed up to visit an area where spices are grown. It had been raining. No one was buying any spices that day. Our tour got washed out. Nutmeg, breadfruit, cloves. We'd seen a boatyard from the bus on our spice tour, so I hired a taxi to take us back. The place had an encampment of people living on the shore next to the mud flats, building and repairing boats. Wood is hard to get and expensive. They were using every tree limb they could lay their hands on to try and make them into usable shipbuilding material. This project came across to me as slightly questionable. They were utilizing every crooked piece of wood to fashion the ribs of their would-be craft. I found myself wondering if it would ever set sail. On the beach, some boats were rotting away. And some were just being built. It was low tide, and repair crews were at work on the mud flats. What a cool place. Of course, we hit the main market, the fish. There were a few nice tuna and mackerel there. The meat department. In Zanzibar, tourists have to go to Stonestown. We visited the old fort there. It was built by the Omanis in 1699, when they expelled the Portuguese. The fort has always been used as a prison and garrison. It's never been under fire. Next, the House of Wonders. It's a palatial home built by the Sultan in 1883. It's so named because it had the first electricity running water, and an elevator. Unfortunately, a major part of it collapsed in 2020. The heart of the old city. The residents are a mix of Swahili, Arab, as well as Persians and Indians. The wooden doors of the slave owners' homes. Here's Tipu Tip's door. The two most famous sons of Zanzibar are Freddie Mercury and Tipu Tip. Tipu made his millions in ivory and slaves. He led his men deep into the jungle to slaughter elephants and raid villages to capture people to bring back to Zanzibar and sell as slaves. When the Omanis arrived in 1698, they recognized the potential in satisfying the demand for both slaves and ivory. Every year, between the second half of the 18th century until the end of the 19th, in Zanzibar alone, 50,000 people were sold into slavery, and 200 tons of ivory were exported. Christchurch Cathedral was built on the site of the old slave market in 1879. Below it, you can take a claustrophobic visit to the dungeons in which the captives were held. Outside, there's a memorial to those who suffered here during those terrible years. We pulled into the harbor of Hellsville on the island of Mozambique. Native people in canoes paddled up with handicrafts for sale. Mozambique is part of Madagascar. It's only 5 miles from the Big Island. Swahili and Indian traders came here in the 15th century, and the French in 1849, naming the town Hellville. Until recently, the economy had been based on sugar and the lang-lang flower, the queen of the perfume world. The flowers are distilled, and the oil that's derived is a key component of Chanel No. 5, among other perfumes. Surrounded by beautiful water, beach towns and resorts are springing up along the coast. In the last several decades, tourism has become a major source of income for the island. We got a car at the dock and headed off. We bumped right into the Hellsville market. Naturally, we had to check it out. Going in, a gal in front of us had white paste on her face. It's called masongione. It's worn by women from the Sakalava tribe to help protect their skin. Inside, the place was bustling. Fresh moringa, made from the leaves and flowers of the drumstick tree. It's a traditional medicine thought to have great power. It's good for your blood, your energy, and sex drive. Tamarind, used as a medicine and cooking spice. Fish, tons of flies. dried ray, and small fish. On the way out, a young man was selling valijas, the national instrument of Madagascar. I had to have one. Researching info on the island before we came, I had come across pictures of some strange igloo-shaped cement houses somewhere there on Mozambique. The driver told me he felt sure he could find them. We hit the road. We stopped in Ambatoloaka. It was a typical little beach town with slight French overtones. From there, we headed into the countryside to find my houses. It was a beautiful drive. Rock breaking. Want to toughen up your hands? Try this for a couple days. We asked people along the way where the special houses were, but nobody seemed to know for sure. Finally, one guy told us he thought they were near Zanzibar, so we headed in that direction. A nice open market on the outskirts of town. We drove all around. Success at last. We finally found them. A cluster of odd little dwellings. We pulled up in their driveway. The residents were friendly and hospitable and invited us in to have a look around. The adjoining kitchen was squared off, but the main rooms were totally round. We thanked the folks and said goodbye. It had been fun hunting the houses down. We headed back to the ship. Maputo in Mozambique. The Portuguese took control of Mozambique in 1505, shortly after Vasco da Gama first arrived in East Africa in 1497, and they managed to hold on to the whole country until 1975. Hundreds of thousands of slaves and thousands of tons of ivory were exported from Mozambique. Outside the market, we found this little shop selling handicrafts. A world of wigs. We got in a tuk-tuk for a brief tour. The Iron House, designed by Gustave Eiffel, it was sent here in prefab form from Belgium in 1892. The driver dropped us at a restaurant for lunch. It was a seafood place with nautical decor adjacent to a swimming pool. Inside, signs showed where to go. The food was good. My attention was drawn to a group of young people across the pool. It seemed like most had never been in a pool before. It wasn't a lesson as much as it was their first chance to jump into some water. One of the guys swam a few strokes. After lunch, we caught another tuk-tuk, and the driver wondered where we wanted to go. I asked if he knew a down-home fish market off the beaten track. We headed down the Malacan. We slowed down to admire some artwork on the retaining wall next to the highway. Sugarcane juice. We arrived at the fish market. It was everything I hoped it would be. Perfect shrimp, crabs, oysters, clams, some of the most beautiful lobsters I've ever seen. A good end to an interesting visit. We arrived in Durban in Zulu country. We were excited. We had made plans to visit a remote Zulu village deep in the bush. The natives there were still maintaining their ancestral ways of life. So we set off. After a long and arduous journey, we arrived at the compound. Their huts were constructed of thatch woven over a frame of long, slender saplings. After brief negotiations with the headman, it was agreed the tribe would do a traditional dance for us. An exciting finale to our whirlwind East African cruise.